Hello, doTERRA friends in all of our Southeast Asian markets. My name is Tim Valentiner. I am Vice President of Global Strategic Sourcing for doTERRA, and it's my great pleasure and privilege to speak with you for a little bit today about co-impact sourcing and everything that we're doing globally in terms of our sourcing initiatives. In terms of our team's responsibility from the strategic sourcing team, we are responsible for keeping up with you. So essentially ensuring that we have the right amount of oil in the quality that we of course have to have of being pure and natural and meeting our CPTG standards, but in all ways and in all timelines that are needed in order to support fast-growing markets like we have in Southeast Asia and of course in other places around the world. And we do this, we secure the right quality and the right quantity of oil through formalizing and maintaining long-term partnerships with the global botanical network of partner distillers that we have spent many years now formalizing and creating these relationships. But they are really the heart of where we are sourcing our oils and how we are able to constantly and consistently provide their highest quality. doTERRA's commitment is essentially this, of ensuring the sustainable supply of essential oils that meet our quality standards, but also doing so in a way where we can deliberately be helping and supporting through ethical supply chain models all of the farmers, the harvesters, and the distillers with whom we're working. And this can essentially be summarized in two ways: sourcing the best and then helping the most. This is really our ethos and our philosophy, but also the way in which we can ensure that we are able to not only provide all of you with the very best, but helping all the people along the way in the supply chain. I wanted to spend a little bit of time today explaining how we're doing this effort. This is a map showing our 21 team members around the world that are working day in and day out to meet these two objectives of sourcing the best and helping the most. As you can see, many of our team members are based here at our headquarters in Pleasant Grove, Utah, but more than 2/3 of our team now is based globally in the regions where they are sourcing the oils. This is exciting to be able to have this expanded footprint, but honestly, during the COVID global pandemic that we've been experiencing this past year, it's enabled us to be able to have a physical presence in many of these regions around the world that really would have been impossible to access because of travel restrictions. And so by having had this model and our team spread out and set up in a way has been very strategic for us, and it came into focus and proven to be even more important the past 8 or 9 months during COVID. Our sourcing managers and our team members are the best in the world. They are amazing and passionate about what they do, and we have sourcing managers based from Perth, Australia, to Shanghai, China, to London, to Luxembourg, to Kenya, to Rwanda, as well as all the way in Brazil, overseeing our Latin American markets. We really have a presence around the world, and we're able to reach all of these sourcing areas because of that. I'm so proud and grateful for the privilege of working with this team. And one thing we also are very proud about and excited is our team is also the most diverse in terms of different ethnicities, backgrounds, language qualifications, and really having in-person interaction with all of the different cultures and countries and languages with whom we're working every single day. Through this network, we're able to source over 170 different origin oils coming now from 45 or more countries. This is amazing. This is a truly global botanical network. Now, in order to realize all of this, working with this team, the other very exciting thing we're able to do is help the most. And during this past year, we have been able to expand our presence, deepen our relationships, and work with even more and more people. And on an annual basis, we send out a supplier survey. And we're able to gather information from all of these partners with whom we're working to understand the depth and the diversity of the supply chains where they're working. And at our Global Connection just last month, we were very excited to be able to present these numbers, but these are some breaking news numbers for you as well that's really helping to tell our story. And we were very excited to see these numbers come in. These are the people that are being impacted and where we are able to help the most as part of our sourcing initiatives. So globally, we are now supporting over 300,000 jobs just in our sourcing sector. These are farmers, these are harvesters, these are employees that work at distilleries. These are all the people involved with producing the essential oils and absolutes and other ingredients that go into doTERRA's products. Now, when we take that number and amplify it by the people that have been, that those jobs are supporting, so the one job that has a household of 4 to 5 people that they are supporting, when we extrapolate that out, these jobs are supporting now over 1.16 million people globally through our sourcing efforts, and this will only continue to grow. And then when we take that number and add on to it all of the people benefiting from the different social impact projects that have been funded through the Healing Hands Foundation and other donors in our sourcing areas, that number is now well over 1.6 million people that are being benefited directly through how and where we're sourcing our essential oils. We are so proud and excited to be able to have this impact by deliberately having this sourcing strategy, and so grateful for that opportunity, which is because of you and all that you do in your roles of helping to promote and educate and teach people about doTERRA's products, and particularly how amazing our essential oils are. Another part of this that was very exciting for us to understand through this recent survey is not only are we benefiting over 300,000 jobs through this model, but the way that we're able to focus on particularly small-scale farmers. So of these 300,000 jobs that are being supported through our co-impact sourcing initiatives, that's supporting over 92,000 farmers in the network. And almost 80% of those farmers are small farmers, meaning that they have less than 10 acres. This was a deliberate design to not only work with farmers, but particularly small farmers, because we feel like that is where we can have the most direct impact and be able to amplify our efforts and the ability to help the most. Another exciting part is the priority that women have in both the number of farmers, but also in harvesters, where more than half of those small farmers and more than half of those harvesters, exactly around 57%, are women. This is where we love being able to focus, working and creating jobs in countries where they're badly needed and where they can have a big impact, particularly in rural areas, focusing on working with small-scale farmers as a priority, and focusing on working with and empowering women, particularly in rural areas where job opportunities are extremely limited. We're very excited to have collected these numbers, and I'm happy to be able to share them with your markets as we are continuing to share this message. We'll continue to gather this data and share it on an annual basis, and this is only going to continue to grow. And we can't wait to see where we continue to head in the future of benefiting lives on the grounds in these countries where we're working. Now, of a quick summary of all the different projects that we have done for co-impact sourcing globally, these are both projects that are benefiting the supply chains where we're working, but also the social impact projects that have been funded through the Healing Hands Foundation. These now include 14 safe drinking water projects, almost 20 different school and education enhancement initiatives. These are school bathroom facilities, healthcare facilities, but in terms of improving our supply chains, we've helped install different distillation systems in areas where they are needed for demonstration purposes or helping supply chains improve. These are also being done through measurement and evaluation tools so that we can better understand our impact, but also providing hundreds of different types of training and advisory services. This is also where we're able to benefit the supply chains, but also the communities that are working so hard to produce the raw materials and the oils themselves where they're being distilled. This now is in total in excess of $8.5 million when you add up all of these different initiatives and where they've been able to be focused on improving these supply chains and also the social impact initiatives being funded globally. This is just also since 2014 when we started measuring all of this. Now, I wanted to explain just a little bit more in detail about what is co-impact sourcing exactly. This is a definition that our team has spent a lot of time working on to make succinct and precise, but also encapsulate what co-impact sourcing is all about. Co-impact sourcing creates shared value for all stakeholders in the supply chain by being at the source and intentionally implementing environmental stewardship and/or social impact initiatives. So what does that all mean? Basically, in order for us to have a true impact in a co-impact sourcing model, we have to have traceability. We have to know the people and the processes involved in producing and growing the crops and harvesting the raw materials that then get distilled into our essential oils, and working directly with those distillers and with those producers themselves. This is absolutely critical. And this is why we have a team now of 21 people that are spread out around the globe in order to provide this traceability for us and to maintain these relationships. No other company that is producing and selling essential oils on the market in the world is doing this to the same level that we are. I promise you that. We are going well above and beyond what other companies are able to do or willing and wanting to do. Most companies buy their oils from third-party brokers because it's the easiest and cheapest way to get essential oils, but it does not have this traceability back to the source. And because of that, there's also enhanced opportunities for adulteration and cheating to happen with your products. And anyone not buying a doTERRA essential oil should be asking, where are these oils coming from and what is actually in the bottle? Now, on top of being at the source and this traceability, we also are funding and working closely with our partners to implement environmental stewardship programs. These are programs to help remove invasive species through harvesting crops like Douglas fir in New Zealand, where we can help control the spread of this invasive species, but also provide an amazing and a unique oil through our Douglas fir oil. This also involves working with our suppliers to ensure that they can be environmentally responsible with the wastewater that might be coming out of the distilleries after distillation, or the raw materials after they've been distilled. How can we make best use of those as organic fertilizers or as compost material? But then on top of that, in many parts around the world, we are implementing social impact initiatives. These are, again, schools, these are hospitals, these are healthcare systems, these are clean water drinking systems, where our Healing Hands Foundation is able to work with NGO partners and with our suppliers on the ground to fund these initiatives and help improve the lives of community members where our crops are being grown and our oils are being distilled. Now, when you look at these three different pillars, being at the source is absolutely critical. Environmental stewardship just really allows us to give back to the planet and ensure that we are being responsible, but also helping to be proactive in terms of how we can be beneficiaries to not only the global environment, but the communities where we're working, but then also through these social impact initiatives, ensuring that we can have fair labor conditions, that we can provide fair and on-time payments, but that we also can have community development initiatives that are benefiting these communities. All of this approach, that's kind of a high-level bubble of those three areas, but they now can be summarized into really just 8 basic sourcing guiding principles, which are the following. The first 4 of these, and this is what we want to be focusing on anywhere where we are working to source our oils. Number 1 is generating jobs. Again, working and prioritizing, working with small-scale farmers, working with artisan distillers that have been doing this for generations, as opposed to building our own large-scale commercial farms and employing just a handful of people. We could get the same quantity and quality of oil, but it really would not be our priority, and focusing on what we want to do, and that's empowering tens and now hundreds of thousands of jobs in small-scale farmers around the world. It's also providing fair and on-time payment to our distillers that they are then able to provide to the farmers and the harvesters with whom they're working. Treating people fairly, being ethical, and having fair and transparent pricing is what we're all about. Also, building supplier capacity, finding particularly underdeveloped supply chains where they are harvesting or producing an oil that we badly need, and working together with them to improve what they're already doing well, but take it to the next level to keep up with doTERRA's growth. Nepal is a great example of this, where they are harvesting wintergreen crops in the wild in a responsible manner, but they just don't have the distillery equipment in order to produce enough or process enough as fast as they can harvest it. Or in many cases, these are very rural and remote areas with limited roads to connecting these areas. So the more distilleries we can help provide in these rural areas, the more the communities can be involved and they can have direct benefit and also receive more of the income where the harvesting is actually taking place. And then lastly, doing this through long-term partnerships, through providing multi-year contracts and commitments to our distillers. They are then able to work closely with the farmers they are contracting and working with. We're really just trying to take the risk out of what the farmers are having to do on a daily basis. And that the best way to do that is to give annual commitments and multi-year commitments where possible. Now, the other sourcing guiding principles are 5, 6, 7, and 8, which here are ensuring fair labor conditions everywhere where we are working, and particularly in the distilleries or the factories where a lot of this processing is taking place. Number 6, is promoting cooperatives. This is where we can help small farmers work together and share collective benefits among themselves to be able to have better access to seedlings or to the raw inputs that they need in order to make their farms more successful. But also trying to help them organize themselves to share information, but also even harvesting equipment or planting equipment. The more they can be organized and communicating, the better, the more successful they are going to be, and they're also able to work better and more closely with the distillers with whom we're working. And then number 7 or 8 and 8 are focused on these environmental stewardship priorities, some of which I've already explained. And then lastly, through facilitating community development, particularly funded through our Healing Hands Foundation, this is how we can amplify our impact and focus on many of just the basic livelihood needs that we can address with these sourcing communities. Now, to close, I really just wanted briefly to go in through 3 examples of how we're implementing these sourcing guiding principles. The first one is on providing fair and on-time payments. In Bulgaria, about 5 years ago, we were working very hard to try and find distillers that met our same, that shared our same ethos and philosophy for prioritizing small-scale farmers, and of course, accessing the very best high-quality lavender oil that we could from Bulgaria for our lavender oil needs. And we really could not find any distillers that shared our same focus and vision. And because of that, we decided we were going to build a distillery ourselves, which has now actually become Esoterri Bulgaria, and the largest distillery in all of the country of Bulgaria by a long shot. And the exciting thing about this is that we are able to not only get the very best quality oil that we need, but we're also able to ensure that we are working with and empowering now hundreds of farmers that are planting the lavender, that we work closely with them to identify the right sort and species, but then providing farming services to help them be successful. And by doing this, we're able to provide them long-term commitments, multi-year commitments, and even transparent pricing before the harvest happens so that they know what to expect. The other exciting thing is that at Esoterri's distillery, we also have an on-site laboratory where they are able to test the oil the day it gets distilled. And we even pay a bonus, a premium, to those farmers that produce the highest quality plants, that produce the highest quality oil. No other distillery in all of the country of Bulgaria is doing this. And we intentionally wanted to make farmers trust us, paying them fairly, and even giving them access to the test results so that they know that the quality of their work resulted in quality oil, which we can afford then to pay them a premium and a bonus for. This has completely revolutionized the way business is being done, particularly in the essential oil industry in Bulgaria, and we're excited about lifting the tide and working closely with many of the hundreds of farmers we're working with already for both Melissa, for lavender, and for many other crops that are being harvested there. Another example is on sustaining long-term partnerships. In southern India, we just a year and a half ago started working closely with our distiller partner in India, but also an NGO, a nonprofit organization called Farms and Farmers. And the goal was to identify an area of the country that was poor, but also land rich and people rich in terms of opportunity and wanting to expand their farming capabilities. And we were able to set up a women's farming cooperative where all women that you can see in these pictures here below had been previously farming subsistence crops like rice during the rainy season and potatoes, and potentially rotating some other crops that really all of their neighbors and the whole region grows collectively. And it really doesn't provide them with much opportunity for a cash crop or really growing in any way out of the extreme poverty they're living within. Our NGO partner was able to work closely with our distiller and with us to identify lemongrass sorts. The seedlings were then provided to these women, where they were able to identify land that they already owned in their families or government land that they had lease access to. And in the matter of one growing season, these women who previously had been growing these subsistence crops like rice and potatoes were able to increase their family income by 2, 3, and even some cases 4 times what they had been making previously. And this is just through our commitment to buying the oil from our distiller, who was able to provide that commitment to these farmers to grow the lemongrass, provide the training support services that they needed to be successful, and someone that was guaranteeing to buy the lemongrass after it had been produced. And this is really the ripple effect that can happen through all of the relationships we are establishing globally, through these long-term partnerships, by committing to work with small-scale farmers and providing them the tools they need to be successful. They're able to increase the incomes for their families, and in many cases receive the first cash crop payments or the first income that they've ever been able to receive. And this allows them to send their kids to school, to pay for the school fees, to allows them to not be having to work on the farm with them, because they are now and earning more income that opens up new opportunities for even their children. Now, lastly, through providing donations through our doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation, we're able to facilitate community development projects. And one that we were able to report on at Connection recently as well is an amazing project that is taking place in Somaliland. This is our Sanag Specialty Hospital that is truly one of a kind and will soon be opening later this year. We're targeting November if COVID-related travel restrictions and otherwise can be lifted. But being able to inaugurate this hospital that's being built in one of the most underdeveloped and remote areas in the entire world of northern Somalia, in the Sanag region of Somaliland, and to provide primary and secondary health services to what's going to be over 500,000 people that truly do not have access to health care. The only option many of these people have in the Sanag region is to, if they can afford it, to take a small bus or multiple buses, probably 10 to 12 hours away to the nearest city, which is Aragesa. And this does not provide them in Aragabo, which is about 10 to 12 hour bus ride away from where they're living in the rural mountains. What that essentially means is they have no access to primary health care. And because of this region has some of the highest infant and maternal mortality rates in the entire world. Because this area is so destitute, but it's also it is the heart of the frankincense and myrrh harvesting regions for the world, we were very excited to be able to identify a need and the ability to use Healing Hands funds to build what is now going to be a world-class hospital in the middle of nowhere. This has been a project that has been underway for now almost 3 years, but it is creating a lot of attention and a lot of interest, even with international NGO and medical services foundations and entities, because everyone has been trying very hard to reach this region, but because of the many difficulties associated with it, hasn't been possible. But starting later this year, this hospital will be open. It will be treating men, women, and children, and particularly being able to provide midwife services, but also delivery services and neonatal care services for children to really try and help provide what they need in order to ensure that children can be born and receive the services they need shortly after birth, and that the women and the mothers can also receive the services they need. We'll also have an emergency services center here. We'll also have some surgical services that can be provided for the first time ever. Ambulance recovery services as well. This hospital is truly going to be game-changing for this region, and it is, again, being provided right in the heart of where frankincense harvesting is taking place currently, and it provides us this opportunity to source the best from really one of the most critically important areas of the world for frankincense trees, but also for the need of giving back and helping the most, and by benefiting these communities directly through providing basic but also secondary healthcare services. All of this information, I've shared a lot with you today, and I thank you for staying with me. All of this and much, much more can be found on sourcetoyou.com. This is where we are trying to constantly provide the latest information in terms of our sourcing initiatives, where we are working, the people that are being benefited, the farmers themselves, the harvesters, the distillers with whom we're partnering all the time. And again, you can find the latest and greatest on sourcetoyou.com. And on here, it shows the sourcing map that we just updated again recently at our Global Connection. That will be available there on top, in addition to all of these different brochures that highlight different aspects of our sourcing supply chains and where we're implementing co-impact sourcing initiatives. There's much, much more than I've been even able to scratch the surface on today, but visit there often. And of course, our behind the bottle videos that are produced by our amazing video team here at the corporate headquarters are another great opportunity and way for you to learn and to see truly behind the bottle and all that goes into our sourcing initiatives globally. We're also excited to launch the first episode of a show called The Pursuit, which helps highlight some of these challenges that we're seeing in terms of trying to focus on sourcing the best and a lot of the adulteration that is truly prevalent in the essential oil industry globally, but all the work that we're going to ensure that we can have the very best and that we can source the highest quality CPTG oils, and that what we say is in the bottle is truly in the bottle. And we're confident that we are the only company in the world that can do that because we are at the source and working closely with all of our sourcing partners. Thank you again so much for all that you are doing in your roles of helping to expand our markets in the Southeast Asia region, of teaching and educating people about the doTERRA difference and what makes doTERRA truly unique, and how quality of oils and purity really is key. And it's critical in order to being able to provide the therapeutic benefits that essential oils can provide. And also having the authenticity to know that when we label something, you can have the assurity and knowledge that they're safe, that they're effective, and that they are pure. And we love being able to deliver through our team's role of sourcing the oils, of bringing the very best to you and to your homes and to your families, but also helping the most along the way through our targeted strategies of co-impact sourcing, focusing on small-scale farmers, and working in a global way that we can truly have an impact in many countries around the world, including developing countries. Thank you so much again for having me. I look forward to hopefully being with each of you in person at some point, either through conventions or through other opportunities. But in the meantime, be safe, and thank you again.